everyone.
Good morning.
Great to see the crowds are growing. I love it. So tell all your friends. Make sure if you're on social media, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be posting different things coming up shortly. Wanted to give you an update. Next month, we're going to continue with this program. 12 programs a year here. Breakfast with the Chief. And our clinician is going to be here. The very first presentation was advocates. So we hired our clinician. She's been working for a full month now, and we had a team meeting this past week, and basically they were surprised at how busy we are. So we really are making a difference, and we're helping people in crisis, and it's just one more really important tool for our toolbox moving forward. This past weekend I was away, and our community policing unit took care of a couple of speaking engagements for us. So if you're a part of a condo association or a part of a group in town and you'd like to have us come in and kind of talk about what we're trying to accomplish as the Westborough Police Department as a team, by all means get in touch with me or Lieutenant McLeod or Sergeant Mike Daniels, and we'll facilitate that for you. And it's all part of having specialties, finding that right person, that right officer, to really provide a top-notch service to the community. So one of the initiatives that we started about a year plus ago was a crime scene unit. So typically, you'll see just the detective bureau handles all the crime scene work. But I felt when you're at a scene, the detectives, they're doing their canvas, they're interviewing people, they have things to do. So I decided, hey, we're going to offer crime scene services to the patrol division. So Sergeant Rossi, he's in charge of our BCI, Bureau of Criminal Identification Unit, and Officer McCrae is one of his crime scene technicians. So we have several officers that have been trained. In our new station, and hopefully in late August, I'm going to have an open house, a little cookout. You're all invited to attend, and we can give you a tour and show you our crime lab. And in that crime lab is really equipment to keep them safe because they're using a lot of chemicals. A fuming hood, you have a drying chamber. It's just really a professional, it's one of, I will tell you this because I was in charge of crime scene when I was in Auburn. This is probably one of the nicest crime labs that a PD of our size has in the Commonwealth. So I'm very thankful to the building committee and to you folks for funding the station. It's going to be absolutely state-of-the-art. You're going to be so impressed, and we're going to be able to really enhance what we do and solve crime. And like I said, I'm extremely proud of my entire staff, and it takes a team. I've always said it takes a village to really provide a top-notch service, and we're really moving in that direction. Caleb Placino and Lucas are doing great. Our K-9 unit, they're going to be going to narcotics school in a couple of months, so that's another enhanced level of service that we're going to have here in Westborough. So without further ado, we will be back next month, as I said, with advocates, with our clinician, working clinician. You're going to really like her. And then in August, we've scheduled the Worcester County DA's office is going to come in. We're going to talk about scams to keep you guys safe and the latest and greatest out there to make sure that you don't fall prey to some of these terrible scams. So without further ado.
Thanks, Chief. I met many of you. Sergeant Rossi, like the Chief mentioned, I met many of you before with Officer McCrae as well. We talked on scams before and things like that too, but what we'll do today, no dangerous chemicals like the Chief said. We'll do a couple things that have to do with the crime scene that we mostly run into, whether they be fingerprints gathering, there could be bank robbery notes to gain evidence from, and there could be latent footprints evidence, things like that we can't do inside here, that they would be outside, obviously, pastor and so forth. And then there'd be a bunch of questions. We can answer them for you guys. But today, what Officer McCrae and I thought we would start out with is what we get a lot, believe it or not, in town. Not crazy anymore, luckily, but we do get a handful of bank robberies that occur. You may not even know about it, because banks, just to give you a quick background, they don't get into a situation where they refuse or struggle or anything. If I pass a note, give me this, they do it. They wait for the person to leave, then they hit their button, because they don't want to cause a hostage situation inside the bank. So what'll happen is the note that we're going to start to talk about is the most commonly used vehicle, if you will. Give me, you've seen it on TV, give me X, Y, and Z, this much money, don't call the police. They might say I have a weapon. They're smart, they won't say anything about a weapon because now we can't charge them with armed robbery. So what we're going to show you is he's obviously handled that note pretty well in his hands, and it's got some writing on it. How mean were you when you know?
No, a note that says, "I'll get you."
Or it
This
could be a
is
threatening note, yep.
just a piece of paper, and Alma might have touched it as well. So, so it's pretty neat. You look at this piece of paper and you're like, wow, how can you get fingerprints off a piece of paper? Well, the neat thing is that we can get fingerprints off of just about anything except for water and air. And there's all different techniques that you use to get fingerprints from different surfaces. But we generally use paper, glass, maybe some wood surfaces. Somebody breaks into your home, they touch your glass jewelry box or your wooden jewelry box. So we have a couple neat techniques that we can use to get fingerprints off that. But this is just, I've been handling it. You know, our bodies have oils and salts, and they just naturally secrete off your hands, your face, everything you do. It's always leaves a little trace. So I've just been handling this. I gave it to Elma. I said, hey, can you look at this for a minute? So her fingerprints are on it too. So what we do, just like science class, remember science? I didn't do very well in science, but yet I'm in BCI, so. So this is all just regular old school iodine, just iodine tablets in the bottom of a Ziploc bag. So I'm gonna take this mean note that Elma wrote, and I'm gonna put it in there, and then we just seal it up. Yes. And then you just, remember the old shake and bake? Remember those? We used to do that? Shake and bake. So you just shake this up for a few minutes, and what happens is the iodine will react to the oils left on the paper from your fingerprints. So somebody sends you a mean letter, we can take this and we can shake it up and we can get the fingerprints off of it. Now I just shook this up for what, 30 seconds? I'll take my mean note that Elma wrote. There you go.
Yep.
And as you will see, I'll pass this around, but as you will see, there is fingerprints, all the fingerprints from people touching the paper are now detected on the piece of paper. So as you look, I'll pass it around, you guys can look, and you will see all the different fingerprints on the piece of paper. So that took us 30 seconds to figure out, hey, look at all these fingerprints. Now that could be, you know, that could be everybody who touched it. I touched it, Sergeant Rossi touched it, Elma touched it. So now what we would do is we would get our camera. Now everybody knows technology, right? Everybody's got cell phones with cameras on them, right? Well, most of us do. Some of us still have the old ones. But it's amazing that this cell phone here that a lot of you have has more power than what they used when they first landed the first astronauts on the moon. This has more technology in it than what NASA had back in 1960 something, whenever they landed the first.
69.
Yes. So that's pretty wild. So with all the technology over the years, it's made our job easier, and it's made identifying people easier. So in the old days, we would lift the print, we would take a piece of tape. You ever do that? You take a piece of tape, put it on the fingerprint, you roll it back, and you're like, hey, I have the fingerprint on the tape. Now we use cameras, because cameras are so advanced and they're so clear, and the lenses that they use are so high def. What we would do now is we would come in close and take a picture of those fingerprints, and we would save them, and we would send them to the lab in Worcester, right up to Worcester Police. They have a big laboratory, just like CSI, just like the TV show. There's a bunch of people working in there. They got the big computers. You give them your information. The next day they come back and say, hey, this is who it is. So it's pretty wild. But that's how we now take fingerprints. We don't lift them anymore. We take pictures of them and we send them, and the pictures are saved forever. And they're all entered into a big computer, and that are nationwide. So if you commit a crime here in Westborough and you go out to California and you commit another crime in California and they get your fingerprints, it goes into a computer and we can track you all over the country. So it's pretty neat.
He's right. We still have the hinge lifters, they're called, to our disposal, because if we can take a piece of hard evidence and keep it in our files too, that's also never hurt in case something gets lost in the shuffle. But I'll pass these around too. They're simply kind of higher quality tape that you can seal over after, and then it's safe in there, and even if anybody else touches it, it doesn't hurt the print. So that's what those look like. But like you said, those digital cameras are unbelievable now, and he had on there a micro lens, which he'll show you, macro, sorry, and he'll show you how close you can get in, and you wouldn't believe, not only that, but Worcester can take it and enhance it even further when they get it into their lab, and it's very similar to the lab that the chiefs help us build for our new station, where right now we're working it up, most of you know where we are, and it's almost like working here, where we're gonna go in this corner and shake stuff up and then come back over here, and so we're gonna give you some enhanced service soon, that's for sure, but the camera's the key to everything now, which he has a little demonstration on that too.
The sergeant brings up a really good point. I've been using Worcester since my days in Auburn when I ran the detective bureau there. So the difference is when you go to the state, they do a great job, but they're dealing with every department in the Commonwealth that isn't a big city. So we've partnered with the city of Worcester where our turnaround time is days instead of months. So it really is nice working with the city of Worcester. I just want to acknowledge them and thank them for allowing Westborough to also participate with their BCI unit.
And like feasibly for us to drive down Route 9, it's great. The state police is either Maynard or Sudbury for us, and that's tough. Worcester can't, the only thing they can't do is DNA evidence for us, that's it. And they have to even send their own out to the state police, but we're lucky, that's right nearby, so.
So here's a lot of you, some of you might know this, but some of you might not. I have a regular penny here that was lent to me that I have to pay it back, so I better not lose it. So I have a penny here. Does anybody know what's in the back of a penny? It's the Lincoln Memorial. Do you know what's in the Lincoln Memorial? Lincoln. Has anybody ever seen it? Oh, yeah. Who's buried in Grant's tomb? Has anybody ever seen? I will show you what this camera is. We can take I took a picture of the back of the penny, and it's zoomed in so fine and so defined, you can actually see Lincoln sitting inside the memorial on the back of the penny. Did you know that? That he's actually sitting in there on the back of the penny? I never knew that as well until I went to class to learn how to really use the camera. So I'll walk around and show everybody in a few minutes, but that's how wonderful these cameras are, and that's how detailed they are. As a matter of fact, I took a picture of my thumb. You know, we were screwing around, I took a picture of my thumb, and you can zoom in so fine that you can actually see the actual, your sweat pore, your ducts, right in between the ridges of your fingerprints. So this here, the camera and the technology, it moves so fast, and we're just always learning to stay up with it, but it's so advanced that it makes our job so much easier, and it makes catching criminals a little bit easier as well. So, yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Sure.
What if they don't leave any fingerprints?
This,
Don't cut or wear gloves or
right,
something?
sure, they're getting smarter, as that you can imagine, you see that on TV, you know. We'd have to try to resort to other pieces of evidence if they were careless in another way. So if you have a house break, that's a traditional thing maybe. So now we might have damage to a door, we can try to match the tool. Now, I got one that comes to mind, glove wearing person. House, I forgot where. Pried the door open with a tire iron look, so it looks like a thick screwdriver when you look at the evidence from the door damage. Turns out the person throws it in the bushes. Okay, we find it, still no prints, but now we can go back to the car deal. This comes from a 99 Nissan Rogue. Okay, goes back a little more. I saw a Nissan Rogue flying out of here. Last two numbers of the plate, 89. Okay, got man, white man. Yeah, boom, 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 we keep going, keep going, keep going. So it's a longer road, but we have pieces that we put together to be one. But best thing is fingerprints, but they're smart, or they're smeared, or they're not on a surface that work. I mean, we can't dust everything, and we'll show you a little of that too. Some things that are really shiny and rough and funny, like interiors of cars, those can be really kind of difficult. There's a couple other things too, but that's a great question because you have to start. It's almost, I hate to say watching TV cliche, but you watch those shows and they're like, oh, you know, I saw a red piece of shirt from the Gap, and now we know that guy worked at the Gap. Quite honestly, it works that way sometimes. And if it turns out to be a big, serious case, we probably enlist the help of maybe the state police as well as us and so forth. But we have regionalized crime scene units too, that Chief spoke about before, that the acronym CEMLEC, Central Mass Law Enforcement Council, that we're involved in. I'm on the SWAT team for that. Lucas is on the K-9 unit for that, and Officer McCrae's on the motorcycle unit for that. So we phase out the state. No, I'm just kidding. We try to, we put together a great service, and it really helps keep officers that are in touch with this area doing the work, not maybe a nameless trooper way out in West Springfield. Oh yeah, I don't even know. I might know a car. I might know the guy that did the crime, or someone else did. So that's why we have these regionalized units, but that's how it helps put pieces of evidence together, because another town had the same break, because they're series. We'll see that happen. Car breaks, wheel thefts. Believe it or not, they'll shoplift from a Stop and Shop in Westborough and go right to Shrewsbury and do it again. It blows my mind, and we catch them with video and with people with eyes open, and people like you that say, that lady's away and there's somebody at her door I've never seen. We might have the person. So yeah, that's probably like a month's worth of work to maybe figure out one house break, or maybe more, but it turns out to be bigger usually after that. So
Besides fingerprints, what do you think a person would leave behind? What's that?
Footprint.
Footprint, right? So many times, especially in the snow or in the mud or in the wet, you get the wet. You can get a footprint, and we can take pictures of it. We put a little ruler down so we can figure out the size of it. But now we have that as evidence, and then you happen to be a suspect, and we realize that it was a pair of Nike sneakers, and lo and behold, she has a pair of Nike sneakers on. We can take her sneakers and we can match it to the picture of the footprint we had. So that's another type of evidence we can use in finding out who did something. What else do you have? I don't have any of it. Right, hair. Now you're doing something and some hair falls out, whether it's from your head or whatever. We can gather that and we can use that as DNA. And what else? What happens if you're breaking into something and you get cut? What happens? Blood. A lot of times people will bleed a little bit, and we're able to use a little Q-tip. We wet it down, we swab it up, we put it in a bag, and we send it out to Worcester, and now we have your DNA, and we can match it up. Skin
Oh, yeah.
as well, yeah. So even though it's not a fingerprint, you're always leaving something. You're always kind of leaving something behind. What about people who smoke? You think if you smoke and you leave a cigarette butt, what do you think's on the cigarette butt? Your saliva. So you can take that, yes
On
ma'am.
that same vein, how about if they breathe onto a glass or something?
Breathe onto a glass?
Yeah, like,
that dissipates a little too quickly, unfortunately, to gather, but that's a great question, because that's right in the same vein, to use your word, it's perfect, because that's right there for DNA evidence gathering, but it's too quick to dissipate versus blood that's there, hair and so forth. So then, but that's interesting. But we use what's called buccal swabs in the inside of the cheek of a person. We have to get down the road into investigation before we can have someone submit to that, because you could say, I'm not doing that, and you see that on TV too. So now that's how we get the DNA to match with what Officer McCrae just mentioned, whether it be the blood or otherwise. And so it's a big puzzle. Like I've spoken to the first lady we talked about. Hopefully we can put it together.
But what's the timeline to get the DNA identified?
How long would the lab's backlog be and so forth, you mean?
Well, if you put one in today, what it might be.
And that's exactly what the chief touched upon, where we love having Worcester, but they don't do DNA. So the state police is, what do we have, 351 towns or something like that? 351 towns, maybe not, the city of Boston, they're not gonna use them and so forth. So it's almost funny, and we make jokes, and it's really realistic. The better relationship you have with them, you're not rude walking in there like, come on, I need this, and you maybe have a relationship with some of the people that do work. They might put you to the head of the class a little bit, or if you have something serious, the state police have to do murders in this jurisdiction no matter what, or unattended deaths they're called, is a death that happened that no one was there medically or officially. So they take those over anyway, but they might have some backlog of a month or more for our DNA stuff.
And don't forget, once we submit the evidence, the DNA evidence in, we could get a call 5-6 years down the road.
Sure.
The person gets arrested, they finally enter them into CODIS, into the system. And I've gotten calls, 10-year-old cases, whether it be breaking and enterings. I remember one case, it was just they were breaking into a car and he cut himself, and I collected the blood. 3 years later, I find out it was a group that was a traveling group doing armed robberies with automatic weapons, doing high-end jewelry stores. And what they do is they come off the highway, like a town like a Westborough, Auburn, come off the highway, steal a car, and then take off. And he cut himself. Maybe one of the police drove by, but who knows? We think we got kids are breaking into cars, and we got people with automatic weapons getting ready to go do, you know, a serious robbery in another state. And he basically, they entered him into the system. He was in a federal prison in Rhode Island, and that's how I was notified that this person tried to steal this car.
Awesome. Yes.
What if the suspect has no prior criminal record? Is he in the system? Are we all in the system?
No.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
That's exactly it.
That last
So, you're right, like, it's easy as a police officer to be fooled if you're new. Oh, this guy doesn't have a record, he couldn't do it. Like, we have new guys, we're both on the field training unit, which helps the new guys or girls that come in here, and they're very trusting, not to mean that I've changed my views over the years, but there was a shoplifter, for example, again, and no, what we call a BOP, a border probation, no record. Has video games under his carriage. I don't know why anybody would put something of that nature in the bottom part where you put a case of water, for example, at Target. If you're buying $80 games, they'd probably be right in front of you. They're kind of fragile. Walks out, they bag him. He's like, no, I just made a mistake. I didn't mean to do, you know, so you get all that. One of our
Dressed
younger
really
officers-
nice,
Yep.
nice shirt and.
Yep, and no record. The younger officer's like, Sarge, I believe him, and I'm like, we don't have to arrest him, but we charged him anyway. So going back, no record. Now he does have a record, because he did really steal them, as you didn't get the moral of the story, I was just saying. Now he does have them, but you're right. You might have a couple bites of the apple if you're a would-be criminal before your fingerprints are in there, but the second you get charged with a crime, they go into CODIS or APHIS, it's called, these acronyms. And that's how, like the chief said, all of a sudden, bang, we had that, not to bring up a crappy story, but we had that rapist about 14 years ago. That person was caught in, I want to say, New Jersey off of an arrest off of our DNA samples. And that's so satisfying to find out, like the chief's story, working on something and then, wow, we got this guy, great. And that's, so yeah, right in the beginning, you don't have any fingerprints on file. Hopefully you never do, right? But, yeah.
After today, they're on it.
Yes, sir.
So as a follow-up to both those last stories, here you've got someone arrested for a different crime.
Sure.
Somebody who's in prison in Rhode Island.
Right.
Do you now add to the charges of this guy?
Well, everything that he's going to have is going to pile up, and we fingerprint everybody every time they come in under arrest. Even if I know, here he is again, the guy that's always driving drunk, or you can imagine we have people that we know from face. It's not a huge crime if we don't grab their fingerprints again every time, but we really try to make a practice of it. He might have gotten an amputation after a few years or real bad, but I'm sure wherever that chief worked, we've always reprinted everybody once they come in. So now you got this guy, John Smith, fingerprints, border probation checks, NCIC, all these things I don't want to bore you with, but then now his charges are just getting like this every time he's arrested. So now we know, it's good for the police to know, it's right in our computer in the car. Am I getting out to deal with a dangerous person? Or if I'm talking, I've never been in trouble, sir. It's like, you really? You know, and no one lies to us, so it's easy. No, but it's yeah. So his charges are getting bigger and bigger as time goes on. It's
What I'm
connected to
saying
his
is,
prints.
this guy stole a car
Yeah.
10 years ago.
Yep.
He's in prison. Do we ignore that 10-year-old cop?
No.
Nope.
We would say, hey, there's our guy. We finally caught him. It's only, although it's been 10 years, now we would go and we would charge. Now we know Joe Smith stole that car, so now we would charge Joe Smith. He would have to go to court. If he's found guilty, they would add time on to whatever time he's doing. So, he might have thought he got away with it, but all of a sudden he's like, ooh, that was 10 years
The other
ago.
issue too is the
Right,
statute of limitations. So
Yeah.
if it goes beyond the statute of limitations, no, we don't charge.
Right.
But in most cases, usually you have that window where you can. In this particular case, this guy got 15 years, federal time. So the car break, we're not going to do anything with that.
Yeah, there are those. I meant to say. Excuse me, I didn't mean to stop, Mrs.
No,
J.
how was it that they were finally able to apprehend
those thieves that were getting into the Target stores?
Yeah, well, it was Sergeant Cali, I'm just kidding. No, when we had, this will make you wouldn't believe this, and I didn't until we had the crime happen. With all the electronics stolen, you mean that crime?
Yes.
If you break into the back of Target back a few years ago, believe it or not, that back warehouse had no alarms in it. So they cut through those overhead doors with plasma cutters, and they're behind the cover of darkness. Now, our patrols always check businesses, but they have 4 or 5 lookouts. We're at a disadvantage every day anyway, because we have these big cars with lights coming in. They plasma cut through that door, and they bent the metal back and went in. They almost had free reign in there. They really did. And it's scary to find out, because once you go on the sales floor, you can't walk around. But all the back stock of iPhones, iPads, back here. We have video of them walking across in a shopping cart to get in getaway vehicles. That's how we finally caught, again, a little piece of the puzzle. Put it together. Oh no, Auburn had the same one. So did Lugo. Bang, bang, bang. And now we put it together in a puzzle. So that was a gang going around. I want to think that they might have been, I got to think of the naming of it. They're fairly dangerous because they'll have chase cars, they're called. They'll make a cruiser see the car and take off after them. They're getting away over here. They might fight. And that was how we caught them, by little pieces of the puzzle. And I think they tried to get all those iPads erased or cleaned, they're called, that you can't resell. You can't sell a lot of things if they're stolen or use them, because once you try to put them on the internet, it's alerted and so forth. So they have to be cleaned. But that was one of the cases.
It just seems like they have cameras all the time.
Right.
Everywhere, that they can.
It's amazing to hear what I said, isn't it? There's no alarm in the back rooms.
Really, yeah.
Because they figure, hey, no one's going to break in the back.
I bet
They
the
did.
insurance company loves it.
And I want to say that was a massive change after that, but there was 3 towns, big hits like that, and they were all those, the things that everybody wants, iPads, and big expensive things. But yeah, that was an eye-opening one. Yeah.
Where do we get those stolen iPads at the discount?
They might be
Guy in
out
a
there
van
somewhere.
down by the river. See that guy?
If you're buying one from a van, that's probably one of them.
Now they erase.
Yes, sir.
Even if something has gone timed out, do you still keep information even though you can't use it?
The statute of limitations?
Yeah.
Talk mostly, yeah, like the chief said, some murder has no statute of limitation. Rape has the next highest, 15 years, but there's some confusion in there too. There's called fresh complaint evidence, where somebody can come forward in the middle of that 15 years with new information. Now we've extended it again. As you can see, the more serious the crime, the more time we are going to allow the police to go get the person. So murder, none, makes sense, right? Ever let, I made it, I killed him and I'm done now. So, but no, by all means, maybe we can't physically get that guy on that crime in 1990, but guess what? If he flirts with that crime again and we have suspicion, I bet we have, you've heard the term, maybe having probable cause, more probable than not that he or she did the crime. We're going to use it in our decision-making anyway, but you may not be able to say 1999 Westborough mass car theft. Might not be able to get that into a crime charge in court, but it's going to help us get to this plateau with this new crime. So I know what you mean. We're not going to just be like, oh geez, I got to close a blind eye to that one, but there's some stipulations in court that it's kind of frustrating sometimes, but it's there, yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a couple of questions you may or may not be able to answer.
That's right. Probably not.
Wednesday evening at supper time, I saw 2 SWAT cars. First time I knew we had a special weapons and tactics department going east on Main Street by the Rotary, and then west when we came back from CVS to go home. And I wondered what you're able to tell me about that.
What did they look like, the vehicles themselves?
Big, black, shiny, spotless.
That was my own car, I was just going I can speak to the SWAT as the chief can too, because he's actually the control unit for our whole Semlec unit. The SWAT vehicles weren't, the real Semlec SWAT vehicles weren't in town that day. We have to our disposal unmarked vans, what's called a Bearcat, as you can imagine, an armored vehicle, and a couple unmarked cars. You know what our cruisers look like, the Ford Explorers. That could have been, we have 1, 2, we have at least 3 black unmarked that were used for patrol or administration, and then our cars, as you know, are black with letters on it. So you might have seen our K9 car, that when Caleb came with Lucas, that car is a big Expedition that's just black. And so that's probably what you saw, or a state trooper could have been going through. They do a lot of trainings in Westborough with the old state property, the state hospital, even though it's getting built on now. So it wasn't a SWAT call. I can guarantee you that, or I'm missing the boat somehow badly here, because I didn't know anything about it. But it probably wasn't SWAT per se, but it could have been some of our unmarked units. So nothing earth-shattering happened that night anyway. But any other SWAT questions, I'd love to talk about that, even though we're at evidence instead right now.
Is there anything more you can say about this particular chase?
Now, these cars were engaged in a pursuit, you're saying? Like they had lights on and everything going after someone?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I thought I heard,
this past Wednesday?
18 or 20 shots in a couple of minutes.
Not here then, this past Wednesday?
Yeah, supper time.
And you saw them right through our square and out, right?
East and west.
That might have been embellished on a little bit. We didn't have any big incidents like that in a little bit. We had a little pursuit, a couple over Memorial Day. You wouldn't have been awake if you're lucky at that time of night, because we were out having fun at that time. That was a motorcycle, unfortunately. But beyond that, anything that comes to mind? Yeah, unless nothing happened in town. If they went through to go to a call like that,
yeah,
it wasn't us. I wish I could talk on it. It sounds pretty interesting, but...
They had SWAT ID on the sides.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, it could have been state police. Theirs is called an SRT team, and it's the same thing. But they could have come through. As you know, we're centrally located. They could have gone to any neighboring town, but I wish I had a more fun answer to that one. But, that one, that escapes me.
Sorry to be so lengthy.
No.
My other question goes back a number of years when I was returning from my business in Bedford early in the morning through Southborough, and the car stopped, the police car, and very graciously, when I explained what was going on, escorted me back to Old Colony Drive.
Was it one of ours or Southborough's?
Southborough's.
Okay.
Is that fairly routine service?
It depends, yeah, absolutely. Policing, hopefully in the eyes of everybody, has become much more community-oriented because we get enough bad press, and as you know, it's not usually the police, it's usually the snippet of news that's thrown out there. So hopefully if we can help, like, if that made you, did that make a good impact on you?
Something all the difference.
Right, and that's what I hope I can do, and I know the guys that work with me already conduct themselves, and the girls conduct themselves that way. And, but yeah, if we have the manpower and there's nothing pressing, if I can help somebody get gas, if I can help someone feel better about, oh, my door looked like it wasn't quite closed, we'll walk through there first with you. You never have to. I think at Walker Meadows I went one day, it was a lady that hurt her knee and she fell, so we helped her with that. And before I left, I fixed a couple garage doors and a couple other things. And it's fun because I don't do anything at home if you ask people. But John will come help you anytime. I know.
Yeah, just call up and say you got a sore knee with a bunch of chores.
Yeah.
You're like, can you get the leaves in the backyard?
But I'm glad to hear that's a nice story to hear, That's good.
Thank you. You're in the movie.
Please leave your name on the podium.
Yep, hey. But did you already take Sean?
I didn't take it. I'll show everybody the
Okay.
penny. I can go around.
Yeah, but this is just to show that, as he mentioned, he's very good with it too, and we've gone to quite a bit of training. But you're gonna send just a little file or a little disc to Worcester, and it can hold a lot of pictures, and they can zoom right in and they can analyze them.
Incidentally, we're being TV.
I have a comment I'd like to direct to
by
Chief Laurie.
the same cameras and lenses you spoke of.
Yeah.
Really,
Oh, yeah.
There's a picture of the penalty, seems about the dark windows, vehicles. I think that is, that is a protection.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. I was at an event, we had the cookout on Ruggles Street that we went to.
Never, you can't see that with the regular eye.
A birthday party there, but someone came up to me and actually said from the Women's Club, has anyone ever complained about the dark windows on the cruiser? And I said, well, up until this, you know. And she says, you know, why are they dark? I said, well, it's for officer safety. You can see across the country there are certain assassinations and different things. So we want to see you, and it's not that we don't want you to see us, but we want to make sure if there are bad people out there, that the officers are safe. And that's really why we did tint those front windows, is just for officer safety, especially, you know, late at night, the officers are maybe doing a report in their car and everything else, and they're not quite paying attention, or they're on, you know, on their computer in their car, that they're safe. So, I'm glad you brought that up.
Well, I was really impressed.
Everything is about officer safety. It really is.
You know I care about.
Oh, yes. Yeah, her son is Sergeant Calvin. And that's really how supportive you folks were of us on town meetings. You know, we were able to purchase some equipment we hope to never have to use, ever. But it's good to have, you know. I wish we didn't have to have guns, right? I wish we didn't have to have patrol rifles. And Auburn was one of the first departments to get patrol rifles. And my chief at the time, my mentor, his name was Ronald Miller. He was a military guy and everything else, was not a gun person at all. What happened was we had an armored car robbery up at BJ's, and the bad guys were shooting at the armored car with an SKS assault rifle, and the good guys were shooting back with a .38 revolver. And the next week, we had AR-15s in the cruisers. He took the shotguns out, and what he said was, bad guys are going to shoot at my guys with high-powered rifles. My guys are going to shoot back with high-powered rifles. And it's not that we want, I don't want these tools. We need these tools for in times of crisis and critical incidents, just like we need this evidence collection equipment. You know, when I took over, I was very clear. I said, you know, through career growth and career development, you know, that's how we're going to reward our talented officers. We're going to find specialties and things for them to do to enhance the services that we provide to you folks, but also so they can have satisfying careers. And the number one job as the caretaker of this police department is to keep people safe. And that's you and that's us, you know. As you can see when you meet our officers, we're just people just like you. Mortgages, kids, just trying to get through the day. And we want to make sure at the end of that tour of duty that they go home. You know, one of the worst phone calls I ever received when I was the chief in Uxbridge was from Sergeant Lamro from Auburn telling me, we wanted you to hear from us, Chief. You know, Ron Tarantino was shot and killed tonight. Officer Tarantino was just a fabulous human being. I mean, he was just the salt of the earth. Beautiful family, and he was taken from us, very sadly. So I want to make sure that our officers have those tools. We have level 4 body armor in the cruisers and Kevlar helmets. You know, people say, why do you need SWAT type equipment for your officers? You're trying to militarize the police. No, we're not. We're trying to deal with what we need to deal with. And if you think Auburn's much different than Westborough, it's not. It can happen anywhere. In that poor department, there were 3 officers that lost their lives in that town. Trooper George Hanna, Officer Stephen Lucas, and Ronald Tarantino. And thankfully, and I hope in my career I never have to deal with that, what Chief Lucas had to deal with recently, someone I worked with for years. And to do that is through training. You know, we go to active shooter training. We're constantly sending our officers to specialized training. Again, to reward them, to keep them safe. You know, that's part of the process. Sergeant Rossi and Officer McRae, they're our armorers and they're firearms instructors. We have one of the nicest firearm ranges, and you're going to see in my capital plan going out that I have some big plans to, you know, reinvigorate that range, to enhance that range. And we're talking probably around $500,000. And at the end of the day, we created a nonprofit foundation to help offset some of those costs to the taxpayer. But when I ask for something on town meeting floor, it's not because I just want to spend your money. It's because I really want us to have the tools we need to protect and serve and keep us safe at the same time. So, I'm going to come to you with some nice-to-haves, but most are, I believe, necessities, or I wouldn't ask. You know, so, and like I said, it's a team approach. I'm extremely proud of all of our officers, and you should be proud of them too. They're working really hard right now. Dominic Annunziata, I just got a great email from a resident today just commending him for stopping her. She was speeding, and how nice he was. She was on her way to a medical appointment, and he gave her a warning. And she really, it was nice to hear that. That officers have empathy, they understand, but they're also trying to slow traffic down. They're also trying to keep people safe. And having this traffic officer position has been great. Again, to promote the strategic traffic enforcement program steps, you go on our website, fill out a form. I guarantee you either Dominic Annunziata will be there within days. And then our shifts. Yesterday at roll call, 4 to 12, Sergeant Rossi, handing out step assignments, traffic assignments to the officers. If you don't have any calls, we want you to work. Our philosophy, Lieutenant McLeod, Deputy Chief Bernardi, Detective Lieutenant Hall, Sergeant Rossi, it's not our time, it's your time. So your officers are working really hard, and I commend them for that. Like I said, it's a team approach. I thank Al Gordon, he hired hard so we can manage easy. I've been very fortunate when I've been able to hire 6 people and promote 6 people. That's unbelievable in a year and a half to be able to develop a team like this. We're hiring 2 more officers July 1st. I'll bring them in to meet. I'm telling you, we're really attracting some talented officers. And next year, we haven't sent anyone to the academy in quite a while. Next year, we're going to re-implement that. We're going to be sending someone to the academy. I think the last person we sent was Officer Rossi 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to give some local people, an introduction. The problem is we're so short right now that I'm really forced to take lateral because we haven't really hired since the late 80s, early 90s, and the town's really grown. The clerk, town clerk, working with the schools, they've been great. They found that we have 900 students. Parents aren't on the census. So I've been saying all along our population is probably 22 to 24,000 people, and it looks like it probably is. So we'll see what those numbers come out. And like I said, we got 700 units going up at the state hospital. You're building Olympus, that's 1,000 employees when they're done with that project, that total project. That's 800-900 more cars that we're gonna deal with. You talk about the Rotary, well, let's talk about Route 9 in Flanders, when those 700 units go in. So we're going to need officers to deal with this. We're going to need tires to beat the road. You're going to see our bicycle patrols out now, specialty assignments when manpower allows, on our bike trails, in our downtown area, doing safety talk. So not to get off track with crime scene, but just to show that, your police department is really doing well. And we just started. I cannot wait a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, what we're going to be really offering in Westborough. And I'm telling you, other departments in the area, how are the Westborough doing that? And it's through these talented people that we have working with us. They're doing the work too.
I just wanted to get one other comment. All these features that are being available to the officers is taking away from stress, which is a big part of being a police officer. And we get very interested.
Yeah.
In, the new guns, the dark windows, the canine unit. It's taking stress away from your men. And I have to really, I admire you for that. I thank you.
Yeah, it's very important. I believe if you come to work and you're satisfied, right, and you're happy, you're going to go home with that same mentality. If you're miserable at work, you're going to go home. And if you're miserable at home, you're going to bring it to work. So my job as the chief is to identify that and to make sure we're helping our officers. We're not doing enough for our officers dealing with mental health. I was just talking with the president of the Central Mass Chiefs. He's the Berlin Police Chief, and he actually finally stepped up. I've been looking someone, as Sergeant Rossi said, I'm president of the Central Massachusetts Law Enforcement Council. I was the unit control chief for SWAT up until a couple of years ago. And I've been looking for a chief to take over that unit, to do a stress debrief unit. So I have a chief stepping up. So we're really trying to identify, because they're not going to, Sergeant Rossi, if he's having an issue, a difficult call, he's not going to want to talk to someone from Westborough. He's going to want to talk to someone from another department, because there's this stigma that it's weakness. And I try to get across to my staff that it's not weakness seeking help, it's a sense of strength. Having this clinician at our disposal is huge, and I can't thank Officer Peters and Deputy Chief Minardi enough for their hard work running point on this. I mean, this was a lot of work getting this grant up and running, and we had to partner with Southborough and Northborough. We kind of took them along for the ride to make sure that this program happened, because everything now really is about regionalization, pooling yourselves together. We're here to help each other. Right now, I can't thank Southborough, Chief Paulus enough for letting us use his jail, his booking area and housing our prisoners until we get back down into force.
When will that be?
They're telling us August 6th, August 7th, I don't know.
This year?
This year, but yeah, who knows? But it's very taxing, and we're dealing with some other issues now because dispatches at the fire department when we do have prisons. So there's some things we're still working out too on our end logistically before we move in. Thankfully, we do have a couple of months, but I can't wait to invite you all there. When I tell you to come full circle, our evidence room is unbelievable. Our BCI lab, our crime lab is. I've been doing this for a long time. Is going to be one of the nicest, I mean, crime labs, you know, in the Commonwealth for a department our size. And with some of the moves we made early on, and I was like, oh, I'm moving the detective bureau upstairs and I'm moving my office downstairs and it's going to cost money. It was a good move because now we have offices that we don't have positions for yet that we will down the road. So we'll be able to grow in this building and not outgrow it. You know, we were basically moving in at capacity. And now we're able to hire more people. We're able to have specialty assignments and different things by doing that. And I think you're going to really like it.
You know something, you deserve a... Did we give this up 50 years ago? But seriously, I really want to give you credit. Now, from brownie points out, you couldn't give me enough to keep me out of trouble. But the point is, I want to say thank you because any woman here that runs the kitchen, if you move a spatula, we're going to know it and be a bit upset. I can't imagine going to work every day. You're in a different home. Your stuff is, maybe you've calmed it all down now, but by the time you really get settled in, you'll be moving again. So I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
For putting up with that and still smiling.
Yes. We've heard too much lately about Mr. Kraft and the massage parlors.
Let's not get into
I said too
that.
much.
I left there.
Do we have any of those issues in town?
Yes.
And why do you know about it?
So I'll just leave it at that, but yes, we're looking into any type of complaint or any issues we got. I've dealt with them in pretty much every community that I've worked in, so we'll deal with them here. And like I said, you know, human trafficking and these different things, they do exist. Public Safety Secretary Tom Turco, with the state police, we're actually putting together a task force on that. Westborough will participate. Like I said, it's all about regionalization and working together. But if you think of a crime, it's happened here. You know, we have, if you count the inns, 10 hotels and inns in town? So we do have, with the good does come some bad. It was at one of our hotels, that $300,000 gold dust, you know, robbery, a group out of Africa. We solved that. We still have a suspect out there right now. So, you know, Westborough is working really hard. I have a very talented staff, and yeah, I mean, you build it, they come. And sometimes it's not necessarily
Don't work too hard on
good.
this particular.
There is a website, and I can't remember the name of it right now. So if you travel a lot, I've done this a couple times, you take a picture of your hotel room when you go in, and you send it to this website so that because a lot of this happens in hotels and whatever, so they have a picture that this is the Wayward Inn in Westborough, whatever. So if they have a picture of someone who's being held, they match the hotel room. I thought that was very cool, and I looked them up, and it was very legit, and I've done it a couple times when I've gone away. So, yeah.
What would that help? Answer, I guess.
Well, because if someone's being held in a hotel rooms all kind of look pretty generic if you don't know the difference. But this way, they have a bunch of different pictures of different hotel rooms. They can maybe match like this picture or this comforter or whatever. So yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Patiently.
Very cool.
Yeah, I have a question regarding computer hackers. Do you ever deal with that type of crime as well?
Well, yeah, every day in the lobby is identity fraud.
Yes, that.
Some of you may have been in when I spoke on the, what they call the grandparent scam and things like that.
Yeah.
Many people have a lot of computer skills and no job, so they can sit in their mother's basement and mess around with everybody all day long. The latest thing is you've seen and heard, hopefully not a victim of, they'll call with an automated number, we're suspending your social security card. Never gonna happen. First of all, the IRS doesn't call, they get those beautiful letters, of course, right? So a woman I helped down in Park Village, she was smart enough to say, why am I being suspended? Oh, your DNA in your card is connected to a large scale of cocaine. And she's like, well, okay, well, what? And then so she's like, a simple thing like, I'm gonna call my own base social security office in Boston and ask, click.
Do you catch them? Do you ever catch these? Because some go in and hack your bank accounts, but luckily the bank calls you and lets you know.
You'll be, as you probably know, and anybody that knows, if you're a victim of credit card or bank fraud, you'll probably be made whole by the company again. Hey, I didn't make these charges, boom, all set. So now the bank or the institution's the victim, if you will. They can be as far away as the Netherlands. I had one. I thought I had a handle on somebody once maybe it was my naive feeling, but they had some stuff shipped to a Westborough virtual office, which is, we have a lot of the legitimate ones, they just come get their mail and so forth. Doesn't pick it up there, it ships someplace else. I thought I was gonna be a hero, I'm not even anywhere near my continent. So, do we catch many of them? Locally, we get great leads on things, like these people that use fraudulent cards, and we track it from Auburn, Westborough, Milford, Best Buy. Oh, they did it online from, it's bad. That's why we don't have enough detectives. The chief says right now there's 4 or 5 working, one's in the school, one's on, sexual assault crimes, so it's like, the FBI handles a lot of that too, so we don't catch a ton of those, and I hate to say that, it sounds like a weakness, but there's about 10 a day calling. Some we can quickly and easily say, you didn't give me any numbers? No, okay, good. We call back that phone number that was called, they're dead numbers. They'd use throwaway phone, it's pretty advanced, so.
Yeah, I have a question. You see on the news this bad gangs from Nicaragua that have come up even into the New York area?
Yeah.
Do we have any of that has infiltrated Massachusetts?
The gangs that are doing financial crimes or violent crimes?
Violent crimes.
There's small cells of gangs and is even as close as Worcester, but it's not, I wouldn't say that we per se, I mean, like the chief said earlier, we don't know what level of people. I come in and I got 4 or 5 nice, beautiful, brand new Ford Expedition rims ripped off from Herb Chambers, processed the scene. With those kids, we're setting an organized group with guns, like the chief, who knows what we're facing. And so I can't say no, but there's not violent gang activity, obviously, in our general area, but they start to bleed into Auburn from Worcester, maybe our way. Again, I've had gang members that we've arrested on gun charges in our hotels, not doing the crime, but once you dig into it, now he's got a gun. Now these are Latin Kings from a cell. It's probably many people heard about Latin Kings. That's a big gang, but it's splintered out all over the place. So the hotels bring us a bunch of transient issues. So I can't say no, but I've dealt with, they weren't fighting us per se, but when you really look into them, they're legit blood crip breakoffs, which are Latin Kings and MS-13 and things, but
we had a group home in town, for instance, and they reported one of their juveniles missing. Well, this juvenile was picked up by a group out of Lowell that have gang ties. So we do have people that are in town. This is just temporary housing. We were able to locate this person and bring them back to the group home, but yeah, these things do happen. So, we do have some people in town that, it's nice to know to keep an eye on, to make sure you keep them safe. So you don't know. People that came in, they see something they like, they do a house break or they break into a car. And, I tell people all the time, especially in parking lots, don't leave any valuables, don't leave anything in plain view. Even at night, make sure you lock your car and take valuables in. It's all too often you basically create a crime. So basically, this person had no real intention on stealing. but it was an opportunity, crime of opportunity. So you want to take those opportunities away and really be safe. So we don't know who's coming in. Like I said, we have a very great access community. I mean, it's location, 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 right? Westborough is all of that. So it's bringing in an element as well, and we just need to be prepared for it.
And if you put your purse in the trunk when you go to the gym, put it in when you leave your house, not when you're standing in the parking lot at the gym. Because then you'll know it's.
And even your keys, you know, when you leave your keys hanging on there, you know, I'm not comfortable with that. You know, I mean, they just take your keys, go outside, click, 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 till they hear the beep, and then they go into your car, and that's where you left your wallet. They know that. They're gonna leave their wallet in their glove box, or they're gonna leave their purse in the trunk. You know what I mean? I know it's tough, you know, even, you know, at the gym, you know, be cognizant. We've had issues that especially the Y loves it. We do walkthroughs at the Y all the time because they had a lot of breaks there. And people come in, they cut the locks off, and they take your wallet, you know, or whatever. Take your keys, go out to your car. And it happens quite frequently, you know, at gyms. People kind of sneak in, walk around.
And it's not new. 1979, when one of the kids was working Baskin Robbins, the plumber had been there, and the back door was open, and the kids were busy in the front. And went in, took my daughter's wallet, and they found it at the state hospital.
Yep.
When I worked for Bradley.
Yeah, here we go. Where we
See, do you remember?
Caldors, what's going on? Anything else?
What?
Caldors too?
No, yeah, no, daughter worked at Caldors.
The flick?
Right out of
You got the
college.
flick? No.
But Bradley's used to have the robberies because they came right off the highway.
Oh, that's it. For like
Right off Route 9.
We're easy to get in and out, and
Yeah.
we're wise to it, but it's, yeah.
And there's a lot of ways in and a lot of ways out.
I can't tell you how many times when I'm
Way back.
shopping, and I have brought it up to women and said, don't ever leave your purse.
And then walk to get
in
something.
your car.
Yeah, you're right.
You won't believe how many.
Well, even if they walk away from the carriage, and they're getting food, and the person
gone.
takes the,
But
you
the
know.
other thing you can do is use the baby strap, put it through your
That's a
pocketbook
good
strap.
point.
Well, yes, but I mean, I myself, well, because.
Put it in,
Yeah.
take the baby strap, one here, one here. That way, if they go to grab
It's
it,
too
it's
fast.
not
Yeah, it's
going
not quick
anywhere.
enough,
It's
right?
just that I know that it happens often because.
Oh, it does?
My son
Yeah.
has told me.
Oh, it does?
And, you know, I make other people aware of
It's
it.
a very good idea.
And they say, well, thank you, and everything. It can only be for a second.
And that's all it is.
It's time for the dancing
Yeah,
girls.
we're ready.
All right.
You were wondering about the dancing girl. Here they come.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You gonna dance?